The series is Be a Finisher. So, finishing what you started. Get right. So many times we have these great, grandiose ideas, right? In the beginning of the year, we're going to conquer the world. We're going to be this powerful lioness woman. We're going to do all this great stuff. And then life happens. And then things happen. And before we know it, we're completely off track. So today we're going to go on to talk about part 2, which is the 3 C's. So we're going to talk about the first C is going to be commit. The second C is going to be connect. And the third is going to be cooperate. So I'm going to break all 3 of these things down. And remember, we're talking about being a finisher, finishing what you start. So the first C is commit. Now, when I was thinking about what that word means to me, because, you can look up the word, the definition of a word, but until it has meaning for you, it's not going to change you. So you've got to get the revelation in you first. So things have to mean something to me. I have to be able to take what I'm seeing, put it in my backpack, strap it on, and get to going, right? So when I think about the word commit, I was thinking, what does commit mean to me? And what came to me after a few minutes of thinking was, commit means that I have to, on purpose, take deliberate action to achieve a desired end. So I have to be really intentional with what I do and with what I say. And when I looked up the word commit, I saw words like pledge, bind, and I thought about when I got married many years ago. My husband and I pledged, we went in covenant with each other, and we pledged our commitment to each other. So when you commit to something, you are pledging your devotion or your commitment or your loyalty to that. So let me ask you a question. Are you committed? Are you truly committed to what it is that you're trying to do? Or is it just lip service? I remember my mom getting mad at me because I used to always say, I promise, just kind of like kid talk. I'd be like, I swear, I promise, I swear. And she would say, stop saying that. Because she understood, I didn't understand because I was young, but she understood that there's power in a pledge, there's power in a vow. And when you get ready to open your mouth and pledge and make a vow, you need to step back and really make sure that it's something that you are prepared to honor. Because sometimes when you make a pledge and you make a vow, you don't know how much it's going to cost. You don't know what it's going to cost you. You don't know the prices you're going to have to pay. You might have an idea, but if you're pioneering something, if you're going down a road that's never been traveled, if you're creating a path in the middle of a wilderness, you don't know what you're going to face. And so you've got to pull back and say to yourself, okay, self, am I willing to do this? So let me ask you again, are you committed to your dreams? Are you committed? Have you pledged yourself? Did you bind yourself to that thing? Is that thing something that you have to do? You have to get it done. Words are powerful. With words we can create. With words we can build. We can destroy. We can look at our life and paint something that we want to see with our words. The Bible says that God watches over his word to perform it, and that nothing that he has spoken will come back to him void, meaning that it's not come back useless or vain. Our words should be the same way. We should watch over what we say, and we should be diligent to honor our words and look at our words as a source of a container that contains the power that we possess. So words are containers, and they are designed to create. And so we have to be committed with our words. We have to be committed in our actions. And another thing I thought about when I was thinking about the word commitment, what do you do to keep yourself accountable? Who's in your life that you can say holds you accountable? Do you have someone like that? Being committed to being a finisher, being committed to reaching your goals, taking deliberate action to reach your desired end. That's what commitment means to me. What does it mean to you? When you say something, when things come out of your mouth, when words flow out of your mouth, out of your heart, out of your mouth, and they become vocalized and heard and placed in the atmosphere, are they creating? Are they painting? Are they building up? Are they tearing down? Are you prepared to be accountable for what you've said? We have to really understand that commitment is not a light word. It's not something we play with. It is required if you're going to be a finisher, if you're going to finish what you started. So let's move on to the second C, which is connect. Now, this is really important because this connects to the first C. When you've made a commitment and you've hit something that's hard, or a setback, or a disappointment, or a delay, or a sickness, or an illness, or whatever, you gotta understand your why. You need to understand why you started doing it. That's why it's so important in the beginning that you are very clear about what you want, why you want it, what it's going to look like, what it's going to feel like, where you're going to be emotionally when you reach that goal. Listen, God's got something great for you. You've been crying out. You've been enslaved for hundreds of years, for centuries, for generations. And you've been crying out to God, send us a deliverer, send us a deliverer. And he heard your cry. But it's going to be a journey. It's going to be a process. And let me paint you a picture. Now, I'm using my words, okay? This is Lori's interpretation, but you can read the Bible for yourself. Basically, he said to them, I want to take you, or God is telling me to take you to a place that is beyond your wildest dreams. He painted to them a picture of something so that they could create imagination, so that they could understand why they were going out. Because God knew they had to go through the wilderness first before they got to promise. And the wilderness is a tough place. They don't call it wilderness because it's a five-star beach resort. It's tough. It's rugged. You have to till the ground. You have to toil. There's a lot of hard work. Nothing comes easy. And you have to fight. God knew that they were facing some strong battles. But if they understood their why, please listen to me. If they understood their why, if they were clear on their objective, if they were clear on why they were doing it, then when they had to fight, they could fight. So you need to connect to what it is you're trying to do in a deep, meaningful way. So what I do with my clients is I have them imagine and I have them journal out. What would your life look like when you reach your goals? That's the beginning of your why. Now, obviously, your vision digs in a lot deeper, but right now I'm talking about connecting emotionally to your dream. Remember what I said earlier, if something has to have meaning for me, and once it has meaning for me, then I can connect to it. Well, this is what we're doing with this exercise. We are connecting emotionally to what it is that's pushing us, our why. Now, another thing that helps you stay connected to your why is staying nourished. Have you ever seen the commercials, children that are severely malnourished? I mean, just skin and bones. And when you look at them, they're really like dead children walking. There's absolutely no life at all in their eyes. Their eyes are like, they look like zombies. They're hungry. They just want to eat. And they're in pain. So that's a physical example of what happens when you are physically malnourished. Well, what happens when you're spiritually malnourished? What happens when you don't feed your spirit? When you neglect to take care of your emotions? What happens? You cannot stay connected to your why if you're malnourished spiritually. Once you are in a healthy place, then your mind is free to dream again. Your mind is free to imagine and to go back to your first love. And the same thing happens to us human beings. If we are malnourished spiritually, if we have not been consistent in being fed every single day, when we are not having our emotional needs met, when we are depleted in any area of our life, our focus goes in that direction. So anyone coming to you, talking to you about goals and dreams, that's not going to be your priority, because in the moment, you're just trying to get a need met. So staying connected to your why requires that you, first of all, visualize or imagine your world when that dream is realized, and keeping yourself emotionally healthy and spiritually nourished. Now, the final C to part 2 of our series, Be a Finisher, finish what you started, is cooperate, following the path of peace and flow. You know, sometimes we can be our own worst enemy. You know, I talked about in a previous live video about overcoming obstacles, and I talked about the 2 different mountains in our lives. We have the internal mountain, the mountain that we need to conquer, like fear and self-doubt, insecurity and anger. And then we have the external mountains. Those are the mountains that we need to move. We need to push them out of our way. You know, things that are trying to physically stop us. We have to really learn and pay attention to signals and signs in our life that let us know that we've deviated off the path and we need to turn around, or we've met resistance and we need to push through. It's really about being aware, self-aware, and knowing yourself, and knowing when you're pulling back because it's an internal insecurity, which means you need to push through, or knowing when you're hitting resistance because you're trying to get a breakthrough and you need to push on. And so that's what I mean by cooperating. Paying attention to the signs and the signals all around you, and how you are perceiving those signs and those signals, the emotions that they're creating within you, and then assessing what your next course of action should be. So following that peace and that flow. I'll give you a story. I had a friend of mine who was really good at singing. I mean, she had sung in band, she had competed, award-winning voice. Could sing anything. Singing was just as easy for her as breathing. But later in life, she felt like she was being moved in a different direction, and that she needed to start teaching and instructing people on how to sing. And the thought of that created this enormous anxiety in her, almost to the point where she would panic, because she was thinking, I can't do that. I know how to sing, but I can't teach people how to sing. What do I do? Where do I start? What if I fail? What if I'm not good? What if people don't receive me? What if they don't accept me? So her mind began to go into all of these what ifs. Remember I talked about that a few weeks ago, again, in the overcoming obstacles, going through the what ifs. A lot of times our what ifs can choke our dream right out of us, because we start imagining things that haven't even happened and may not even ever happen. So that's what she was doing. She was going, and the more she thought about the what ifs, the more anxiety she started to feel. And then finally she started, let me just pray. I need to pray, because I'm all in my flesh and I cannot even begin to discern God's voice. So I need to clear all this clutter out the way so I can figure out what's really going on. And she said, God said something very simple to her. He asked her a question. He said, how do you sing? And she's like, huh? Well, God, you know how I sing, because you gave me the gift. But clearly he knew the answer, but he wanted her to know the answer. So she started thinking, well, I just sing. I just pick up the mic, I sing. And the Lord said, okay, well, what do you do? And what's going on inside of you when you sing? And so she answered, well, I hear the song. I hear it. I feel it in my heart. And then I hear it in my mind. And then I just sing what I hear. And I follow what I feel. And he says, well, can't you just do that with teaching? And all of a sudden, a light bulb came on. She thought, oh my goodness, I'm trying to do this in my own strength. I'm trying to do this in my own energy, And I was never supposed to do this. If God is telling me I need to teach, or if I feel I'm being moved in a direction where I now need to start teaching people how to sing, I've got to do it the same way that I sing. I trust in that flow. I follow peace and I sing. And so she had to learn how to trust her strength and her power and her ability that God had given her in the same way that she used to sing, bring that same principle to teaching. Cooperating with that path of peace and that path of that flow, and learning how to trust the power you have and the strength that you have, and honoring that will help you to ease into and go in the directions that you need to go into. And if you need to make a detour, you'll know. So just trusting that instinct and knowing when something feels right and when something doesn't feel right, and not trying to make something happen that has no business happening. So it's the same thing with being a finisher and cooperating. You need to cooperate. You need to connect, commit, and cooperate. And remember, you can be a finisher. There's no reason why you can't finish what you started. You may have gotten delayed, you may have gotten off track, but you don't have to stop. You don't have to give up. Figure it out. Press in, press through, and get to the finish line. You know what? I know that you have what it takes to be a finisher. So I'll see you next week for the final and third part to our series. Be blessed. Bye-bye.